Welcome back, everybody. This is Two Vintage Guys. I am one of your hosts, Joe Rendachi, and my good friend and partner, and he's been away on vacation. Had a whole stream of guest hosts this week and last, but he's back in his pit. Talk to us. What's going on, Paul?
I'm back. I am. You did very well without me. I'm proud of your guest hosts. You had a should be Hall of Famer even. I don't know where you came up with that one, but that was fantastic
Very well.
listening while I was gone. So it's probably a downturn in the show's history now that I'm back. You probably should be better off with guest hosts every other week, but we'll see what we can do.
Anyway, so we're all going to start. We're going to talk two things, people. We're going to talk the NBA 2026 SoFi play-in tournament. I love that they had to sell rights, like to call it that. And then we will jump into the NHL playoffs, which do start this Saturday. So with the playoff games, we're not going to break it down in stats and all that crap. We will talk about just the play-in tournament itself. I think this is really working. I think we would all agree that the NBA season is way too long. I think we'll also agree that because the players are never going to take less money for less games, they're never going to do anything about it. So that'll continue. And we have the 7 to 10 seeds that play this single March Madness style game to move on. So we had the Hornets as the 9th seed beat the Heat. The 76ers played the Magic. The Magic moved on. And then we had the Magic play the Hornets. So at the end of that, the Magic wound up with the 8th seed to play the Pistons. 76ers wound up with the 7th seed to play the Celtics. So let's talk about the East first there. What's your thoughts, Paul?
Well, obviously, I will be a pro Sixer fan, but it'll be a hard climb. It's. I think back to your point. Yes, this every season in every sport is long, so a way to make it entertaining at the end is kind of fun. Charlotte had their chance, right? MJ's team, but uh, there's a chance for an upset over the Celtics, a small chance, but appendicitis has sidelined Embiid, so we'll see if he can come back. Probably one of the top 5 players in the game, Tyrese Maxey, who, by the way, I'm waiting on a Tyrese Maxey auto that I pulled from Tops, and I think I've been waiting 4 months for it. So I'm about to inquire where the hell that is, but yeah, I pulled a Tops Now Tyrese Maxey auto a few months ago, so maybe I'll do well with that.
That's my old joke, right? Give each team 100 points in 2 minutes, so you're going to wind up pretty much with the same thing.
But it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's good now that everything's set. We'll get going. It's playoff weekend. NHL starts today. Basketball starts tomorrow, I think, right? So
yeah, so
playoffs.
well, we have let's just talk about the Western Conference, even though you and I are more Eastern Conference guys. The Clippers played the Warriors. Warriors beat the Clippers, and then the Suns and Trailblazers played, and the Suns beat the Trailblazers. So we had the Suns then beat the Warriors for the 7th seed. We had the Suns wind up as the 8th seed versus the Thunder. So the Thunder should roll right over the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, Thunder will crush them. I mean, I think the rich get richer. Is it an end of a dynasty there with Golden State limping into the playoffs? We'll see if they can just go on a playoff run, and that's the beauty of the playoffs. That's why everybody tunes in. Like with any sport, the top 4 seeds, either through money or through player development, really take it on. So I think Thunder roll the whole way in. So we'll see.
Well, the 2 seeds the Spurs, and I mean Spurs finished 62-28 to the Thunder 64-18. So I think you can take your pick with one of the two of them representing the West in the finals, right? Thunder Spurs. That should be a good Western Conference final. And then in the East, I think you're looking at 1-2 Pistons Celtics, and pick your poison there. Celtics have the experience, obviously, but Pistons, I mean, start to finish this year, they just rolled. They rolled through it. Any cards of thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think your biggest players. I don't, when Wemby's a little banged up and injured, he's out. He's been out for a few days, but I mean, if he can somehow get back in, that's going to be a great card. I think some of your longtime stud players in the NBA will do well. So it's the rich get richer, So if Wemby can come back from his injury and do a little bit better, then we'll be okay.
So here's what I'll say. I'd start advocating to make everything best of 5, best of
Yeah,
7, 4 rounds between basketball and hockey. I mean, it's great when you're sitting there, you throw in a game, and the series is still going. But really, for excitement, I best of 5, right? That
yeah. No, that's a good point. I think if you moved it to that, you'd really make it an impact. So we'll see. But yeah, that would be great to see.
Because it's kind of funny in best of 7 how many teams come back from 3-1 down, right? It, and with basketball and hockey, as you well know, they do it different than what we're used to in baseball since we're kids, right? Baseball, it's first 2 at home, 3 on the road, last 2 at home.
Yeah.
Hockey and basketball, it's a 2-2, 1-1-1, and that really makes the difference, especially coming back down 3-1.
Yeah, exactly. That 2-2-1-1-1. That is the old style of doing it. But when it's more regional like NHL is, they don't do NHL changed everything, so they don't do the 1-8-2-7 method. They go into division. So Pittsburgh's playing the Flyers, 2-3 is playing each other. So you have good teams that are going to lose in the first round because of the playoff format that Greedy Gary did a few years ago.
Yeah, let's switch over to the hockey, and I'm not sure I'm loving all that, but I'm going to kick it off to you. You do it. I'm running color. Talk to me about the NHL playoffs starting today.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So you've got, and I'm sitting here before the show. I pulled up all of my young guns, and of course the best young guns aren't in the playoffs. My condolences on your Islanders there. But Nishkinen
Hang on, let me
for
just say, if you
okay.
can't make it, you don't deserve to make it. No crying.
Well,
They didn't make
so
it last year because they sucked. The 2 years before that, I think they made it on the last game of the season, and then of course got knocked out in the first round. So
it's a whole new day, right? You've got Buffalo back, right? You've got Utah Mammoth playing their first playoff series since relocating from Phoenix. New ownership, new money, new attitude means you win. Phoenix didn't do it for years and years. And I'm looking at Dmitry Simashev for Utah in my Young Guns collection. Carolina's a perennial great one. Alexander Nishkin for that one. The Blue Jackets went on the biggest dump at the end of the year, losing, I think, 8 out of their last 10 and did not make the playoffs. So I'm looking at Jack Williams, Young Guns. We'll see if that team blows itself up. Although Rick Bowness basically came out in the press and said the guys gave up. And if he's back, he will tear up the whole team, new culture, new everything. The next day, he got an extension. So that tells you that the coach was listened to. So Minnesota's a great team. I'm looking at Zeev Beam for Young Guns there. And then I'm looking at a Pittsburgh Penguin who I'll be rooting against in Harrison Brunnicke. So it's all about the young guns. It's all about the new players. Buffalo, but really the youngest team and the most different team is Montreal Canadiens playing your Tampa Lightning. Montreal has, first of all, their young team. Second of all, they've got a guy who's 5'8" on a good day. Another guy's 5'9", small, fast team that's exciting. I think Montreal wins. Of course, I'll take the Flyers over the wheelchair-bound Penguins with Malkin and Crosby and Letang. I mean, this is their last chance. But like we said, when the format changed, you're playing 2 versus 3, where in years past, Penguins could have gotten a worse opponent and probably maybe won a series, but hopefully they've got no chance. Rick Tocchet going against his old team came out with something typical of Philly, saying we need a little bit more hate in the game, and I'm all about the hate. So we'll hate the Penguins like I did when I was little.
So here's my trivia question to you. How long has it been since a Canadian-based team won the cup?
I'm going to say 35 years.
35 years. Well, just pick the team. Who do you think it was?
Well, it was Toronto or Montreal. I'll flip a coin and go with Montreal in 1976. How about that?
You're half right. I would have obviously went with the Canadians too, because you gotta. But 1993,
Ooh.
Canadians won. It's when they beat when Gretzky went to LA for that one year and took them there.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Well, that's
So yeah, and now it says the odds are basically stacked against them because there's only 7 NHL teams in Canada, and the other it's a 32 team league. So the odds of them winning get
yeah. I'd have to see if Dreisaitl's still injured. I mean, Connor McDavid's a perennial, so Edmonton there. I don't think Winnipeg made it. They crashed at the end of the season. So it's up to Montreal, and I think they've got the best chance to do it. Montreal going the whole way. So
Well,
we'll see.
if you look at some of the numbers, it almost it's kind of weird, right? Edmonton's back in. This will be 3 years in a row that they could try to go. They lost obviously the last two to the Panthers, and I don't think they're as good as they were either the 2 years they lost to the Panthers. But you never know if they get on a run. But the Oilers. So this year we know the East was really top heavy, right? So some of these teams in the West, including the Oilers, wouldn't have even made the playoffs if they were in the East. But
Yeah, I
like you
did
mentioned,
see
my
that. You're
my
right.
Islanders
Yeah,
that
the
got
whole
knocked out.
disparity between the East and West. Yeah, yeah, I saw that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. You play who you play, and you win against them. So no crying from the
Yeah,
West.
no, I
No
don't. I
crying.
agree. I don't think you could complain because you're taking into account who you played all year. It's never any one thing. But I'm just saying the East was really point heavy this year, and some of these playoff teams in the West wouldn't have been made it point wise compared. But a lot of
Oh,
things happen.
it'll be really interesting to see. Do new people tune in after the Olympics and after the USA won? What are the numbers in NBA versus NHL? I hope that the Olympics cause a little bit of a bounce back for the NHL, and we get some more guys playing. It would be really nice. Obviously, I'm a hockey guy more than I am anything else, so it would be nice to see what the Olympics could do.
I think the biggest thing with hockey compared to the other three sports, and this will now sound totally political and 100 other things with an ism at the end of it, they're mostly white. And that doesn't mean they're mostly American white. They're, Caucasian white, all from all around the world. And it's not really a multicultural game. You could count on one hand, right? How many African American players there are, and I don't think there's many Indian players, if any, right? When you start talking
Well, there's
versus
certainly, yeah. I mean, but
basketball and
yeah.
football and soccer, you have such a larger fan base because it's multicultural and national.
But the one thing I will say is that's why the Olympics, and I saw Sidney Crosby interviewed on Pat McAfee the other day. Um, it's why their international tournaments do so well. So multicultural, yes. The NHL is comprised of Canadians, Russians, Finns, every country in Europe almost is represented, not a majority of Americans. So from a multicultural perspective, it is certainly that. From a monochromatic, that's my big word of the day, I guess. A polite word. Yes, they are certainly that. But they are multicultural, and so you get the mix of I'm rooting for a Russian and Michkov, right?
So here's the key nationality breakdown for 2025-2026 opening day roster. Canadian, 42%.
Mhm.
United States, 27%. Right? So right there, you're at what, 69%, almost
Yeah.
70%. Sweden is 10%.
Mhm.
Russian is 7.7. Finland, 5.4. Czechoslovak, 2.8. Switzerland, 1.5. You
Yeah,
didn't
I mean,
you didn't hear a
I
lot
think
of
that
things you would hear from other sports in there.
no, it's certainly not. I know NBA. It's funny though. That's what the NFL wants. The NFL is now playing how many games in Europe? I was at a work conference this week, and we were talking about the NFL in Germany and London. I don't know what South America, if they're back in Brazil or not, but everything is dominated by money, growing the sport internationally, and NFL is desperately trying to do it, but from a hockey perspective, I mean, don't get me started on all the international, taking college kids, spots in college hockey and what leads up. But who knows? I think, some people will get excited. We've got another month and a month and a half of playoff sports, and then we'll go into the summer where it's just baseball, and we'll see if baseball can keep its numbers up.
Well, just to finish that off with the NBA players, and this is only talking the 2023 season, 70 to 78% of them were black players, and up to 90% were white players. And they break the demographics down with Latino, Hispanic, Asian, and then multiracial. Right. So that's why I think the NBA globally, right, has a bigger draw than I realize that most of hockey's nationalities outside of Canadian and American are what we mentioned, right? But there's a lot of key demographics there, which I think why it remains the fourth sport
Yeah, and I
amongst the
think
top
always
top.
will. I think always will be at the end of the day. I think basketball is a bigger draw. It's an exciting game. You've got college basketball tournament, um, leading up to these playoffs. NBA is exciting. Let's face it. It's a great sport, great fun. Um, I'm just caught in my hometown team, not healthy as we go into the. I mean, you know,
Well,
Paul George is 82 years old. His knees are about 100 years old, and Embiid's coming off appendicitis. So, yeah, it's
I,
definitely hockey's a niche sport. It really always will be. But
I think
that's
one
the
of the
beauty of it.
reasons it's a niche sport, and I think you know this better than anybody because you're still paying for it. Uh, when you and I grew up, and even as our kids grew up, you could just give them a bat, a ball, and a glove and tell them to go play outside or at the park. Or
Yeah,
you give them a football, you could give them basketball, tell them to head to the net. For hockey,
it's
it's it's
ridiculous.
it's
Yeah, that's
it's
crazy.
it's
It's
bucks,
crazy.
it's money, right? You still are
Yeah.
paying for one, like all over the
Well, and I
world.
think that needs to change in baseball. I think I forget what All-Star game it was. In the last 5 years, there was an All-Star game without one um, African American starting player, and that was born in America. So baseball needs to do a better job of reaching out across the inner cities, building parks, getting bats and balls in kids' hands. That's a big push. Little League needs to come back, and it doesn't. Listen, everything is going too much, too fast, too much money, too much emphasis. Kids aren't playing sports, aren't playing multiple sports. They're playing one by the age of 10, and they're specializing. And instead of it being fun,
I've lost you.
it's turning into a business. So that's where we are. I think maybe on tomorrow's show we should make some predictions. We should probably start calling and making calls. I know tonight I'll be rooting for the Flyers. NHL Senators starts at 3 p.m. In Buffalo. So we'll go with that for today, and maybe on tomorrow's show we'll make some predictions, and it'll all be about playoffs on both the hockey and basketball. So why don't we leave it at that?
All right. Well, I will say this: we should just make a who's just going to win the cup prediction, and since the games will start today, and we don't
Yeah,
have to jump up on it, so give me your who's winning the cup, and then we'll go series by series tomorrow.
okay. So there's two ways to look at that. I can tell you that the Flyers are going to win the cup in my homer way of doing it because they've won so many games to get in the playoffs. We've got to go with Colorado. So I'll do that Western team on the Colorado. It's nice to see Utah in there, but the Avalanche should probably run. And on the East Coast, if I can't pick the Flyers, then I'll have to go with Carolina.
Ooh, interesting. Carolina
So
can't
no,
really.
sorry. I'm going to back that up. We're going to go with Montreal, the young team that I talked about earlier. I'm going to go
Ooh,
with Montreal.
I don't even think get past my veteran Tampa,
No.
but okay. But I will
Veteran
say
is old,
Colorado is
vintage.
winning the West. I'm gonna be a bandwagoner and say Buffalo is gonna go from worst to first this year, and it's gonna be Buffalo, Colorado, and Colorado's gonna win the whole thing. But we'll get into that deeper on tomorrow's podcast, and that's it.
All
So
righty.
say goodbye, Paul.
All right. Goodbye, Paul.
All right, goodbye, everybody. We will talk to you soon.